So we have another segment of the next 2 pages in our notebook. You're going to need scissors, a glue stick, and the following pages. One's going to say percents, and it has a lovely door on it, and you're also going to have one that has gears, and it has fractions, decimals, percents. Here's my math notebook. Here's how I'm going to set mine up, okay? So you have percents on this side, and you have the gears on the right side. I put them back to back side by side. Get those in, and then we will get started. And actually, I'm actually going to start on this page first. So once you have that ready to go, you should begin. All right, so I'm ready to begin. You should be ready as well. Remember to pause the video anytime that you feel that you need to as we're going along. So we start off with fractions, and I'm going to give you a fraction. Let's say it's 4/10. Okay, that's a fraction. I can list any number of fractions, but to get from a fraction to a decimal, and there's 4 operations in math: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And which of those operations do you think we use to go from a fraction to a decimal? If you said the answer was divide, you are correct. Add that to your note now, please. Divide. So if we take 4 divided by 10, we get the answer over here as 0.4 or 4/10. That's the next key that I want you to write down. We're going to write down right here, we're going to write down, say it out loud. Because when we say it out loud, it helps us. It truly does. It makes a difference. It really makes you aware. Because when I say this decimal, 4/10, I can see it, 4/10. Okay? Now we go down here. We take the one up here, this decimal, and we're going to, let me adjust my camera slightly, and we take it from a decimal to a percent. So those of you that know what that percent would be, it would be 40%. Okay? So how do you get from a decimal to a percent? Decimal to a percent. Tip my book sideways, and I'm going to tell you, if you move the decimal point 2 places to the right, you're going to find the answer. Okay? Now, if I'm at the percent, which is 40%, and I want to get back to a decimal, I change one word from this move the decimal point to 2 places to the right. Now I say it as move decimal point 2 places to the left. Didn't have enough room there, did I? Left. So to go from a percent to a decimal, I move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And to get from a decimal to a percent, I move the decimal point 2 places to the right. Hopefully after you've done the lesson for today, you should be well familiar with that process. Let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a decimal, such as, let's say, 76 hundredths. And if I want to change this decimal to a percent, I'm going to, just like my arrow points, I'm going to move it 2 places to the right. So now it's 76%. Let's say if I told you I had 5%, and I want to go from a percent to a decimal, I'm going to move my decimal place 2 places to the left. So my decimal, it's hidden. It's just a known that it's behind that 5. Even though we don't technically write it, we just know that it's there. So here's my decimal. I'm going to move it 1, 2, and now it sits here. So the new answer becomes 500ths. So when we think of this, going one step farther, this is 5/100 because it's saying 500ths. 5% is just 5 out of 100. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next page on percents. 57, what does that mean? Well, it means 57 out of 100. So let's go ahead and write means 57 out of 100. So when you see this 57%, let's say if you could get a score on a math test and you see 83%, that's saying you got 83 out of 100 correct. We're going to put it a little bit farther, then we know it's percent, which is per 100. Okay, per 100. 57% is really saying it's 57 out of 100. All right, now we look at this next one. It says 1/5 as a percent. Well, I can do that. 1/5, and I want to get it to 100. What number would I take to take 5 and transfer it into 100? Think of multiplication here. And if you said, well, times it by 20, you are correct. Whatever do I do to the bottom, I do to the top, and vice versa. So 1 times 20, this is saying it's 20 over 100, which is the percent is 20%. 20%. Now, when you think of the word cent and you want to give examples, and you may have done this in 5th grade with Greek and Latin words, and even in 4th grade, you think of the word centimeter. Or you might say, hey, what about a centipede? Yep, you could think of that. Or what about 100, whoops, I forgot my C there. What about 100 years? That's a century. They want you to now come up with a sketch, a meaning of the word. My best sketch, I'm thinking of a hundreds grid. Yep, you know all those lines that go in there? That's what I'm thinking of. Or I might think, 100 cents, like 100 pennies, equals $1. You got it, $1. Century means 100 years. There's that. Let's finish up the bottom part. Whoops, there we go. Converting. But sometimes it's not so easy. The example here they give us is 5/6. So 5/6 as a percent. When you think of 5/6 as a percent, you write this and you say, okay, how do I get that 6 to change into 100? Not as easy as 5. Not as easy as 10. Not as easy as 20. Not as easy as even, let's say, for instance, maybe even per se 25 or even 50. So this here problem, this is why we sometimes have to use a calculator. And I am not afraid to tell you to use it because I know you're going to be using them when you get to high school. So it's okay, and let's practice the good methods to those right now then. So we're going to divide, and we're going to go through the decimal form. So here's my handy dandy calculator. I take 5 divided by 6. Whoa, there's my answer. And I get, so I simply use a calculator. And then I get the answer of 0.8333, repeating. All right? That'd be like if I told you, what about if I said, how about 7/19? How are you going to get that 100? You could, there's ways to do it, but let's think, simplify. Just go ahead and use a calculator. Sketch the remainder. So I'm going to take this answer, and I had 0.8333, repeating. Now I need to move the decimal. So I'm going to write that on here. I'm going to move the decimal. So I can change this decimal into a percent. And when I change that, I'm going to move it 2 places. 1, 2. There's my new decimal. And it turns out to be 83, and I say about 83, and 3 repeating as my percent. Don't forget the y here is about place value. And it's 2 places. Typically, we always ask you to give us 2 places, which is to the hundredths place. If we say that THS, that tells me I'm in the decimal range. There are your 2 note pages for today. Thank you very much for following along. Please make sure you take a picture of this and send it to me so I can give you credit for this. Thank you.